Good evening. My gosh, this is so wonderful. It's so great to see you all. It's a beautiful night. I don't know how many people were here last night, but it was rough. It took forever to get home. So finally, a wonderful sunshine, and thank you for spending your time with us tonight. This is our second night of the second West Windsor Chamber Music Festival.
I'm sorry, my mic died. I think it says low batteries. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I am so thrilled to be back. And first, I would like to thank all the people who've made this possible for us. The wonderful host families, Lee and Elvin and Rita and Win for hosting the musicians. Hiroko Sasaki, who was with me yesterday, stayed with them, and Helen, who came in today, is staying with Win and Rita. So, and also this morning I had the children's concert, and Peter Money, I don't know if he's, oh, he's there, yes! Yes, so he was so generous in donating his talents and leading the haiku version, portion of the children's concert. And also your principal at the elementary school, Jennifer, who really got up at crack of dawn and took all the flowers and set up everything, and just being an incredibly supportive member of this West Windsor Chamber Music Festival. So thank you. And also the library, the Friends of the Library, the select committee members who, I don't think it was just for us, but the air conditioning. Not that we need it now. But yes, so yesterday I was kind of talking about how I'm so grateful for all the connections, the chance encounters that I've had with people here. And tonight I am joined by Brad Ritchie, who is a cellist from Atlanta, and he and I have never played together until this time, this Monday really. And yes, and it's really thanks to my dear friend Helen, who I'll be playing tomorrow with. And she introduced us. I mean, we knew each other. I mean, I met him like 15 years ago, I can't remember. But we just never played together. But it's been such a blast. And I think you can probably tell from his playing, he's so chill and just so even-keeled. So he's been a great stabilizer for me. So I really thank him for that. And so, before you leave today, please stick around and partake in this donated goodies from Lowe's Bakehouse. Lowe's Bakehouse. Lowe's, L-O, yeah, Lowe's Bakehouse in White River Junction. And yesterday, your lovely butcher pantry donated some cookies for us too, so we are so thankful for all your support. So thank you so much. Now I'm going to hand it over to Brad to tell you a little bit about the piece.
So we cellists are very lucky with the music of Johann Sebastian Bach. As a lot of you probably know, he wrote 6 cello suites for solo cello by itself. And if that weren't enough, we also play music like I'm going to play tonight that wasn't written for the cello. The piece I'm going to play tonight was actually written for 2 different instruments than you see tonight. It was probably harpsichord instead of piano, and instead of cello, it was an instrument called the gamba. So gamba is Italian for leg, and that's because that's what holds the gamba, or the cello, in this case, as opposed to the violin or the viola that would be held up there under the neck. So the gamba was an instrument, looked pretty similar to this. Instead of having 4 strings, it had 6 or 7 strings, which means it could probably play about as low as I could play, but whereas I have to climb up the highest string to get higher and higher, it was probably easier to play higher notes on the gamba because it had higher strings. You could just come over here and play back here in first position rather than climbing up like that. So as for the music of Bach, they joked that the NASA scientists did not put any of his music in the space capsule that they sent in the time capsule that they sent into space to greet other life forms because they figured that would just be bragging. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite composers. Nobody can really mix and mingle a musical phrase like Bach can. And the strange thing is his skill is always disguised because it just ends up sounding like music, like beautiful music. So he wrote 3 sonatas for gamba and keyboard, and we're going to play the first one of those now. So Beethoven, Mr. Beethoven, also wrote a lot of good music for cello and piano. He wrote 5 sonatas for this combination, and he wrote 3 sets of theme and variations, one of which we're going to play. So this theme that he chose is actually written by Handel, the composer of the Messiah. It's not from, the theme isn't from the Messiah, but it's from a different oratorio that he wrote called Judas Maccabeus. And I think it was probably the most popular theme from this oratorio, and probably a very familiar tune in those days. I don't know. You guys might recognize it too. It seems sort of a familiar tune to me. So theme and variations just means first thing that you'll hear is the theme that was written originally by Handel. Handel. And then he writes 12 variations. Some are fast, some are slow, some are happy, some are sad, some are piano, some are cello. So you can see if you can hear a little bit of the theme in each one of the variations, no matter how different it might sound. That's all the talking I'm going to do.
So, the next piece that we're going to play for you is I'm sure you've never heard it before. I did not know of this composer until basically, I think, April of this year. Again, this was sort of the chance encounter with a piece of music. So I had an acquaintance, a person I knew from Juilliard, who had recorded this piece in April, or maybe March. It had just come out. And it turned out that this was a piece written by her grandfather, which I did not know at all. Well, I did not know of this man until she played it. Well, it turns out that he was a son of a very, very famous poet in Japan, Takahama Kyoshi. He was one of the most prominent, pivotal poets who lived in the latter part of the 19th century and beginning of 20th century. And he was, so Tomojiro Ikenoji Tomojiro, the one that I'm going to play for you, he was the very first Japanese person to go to Paris and study at the Paris Conservatoire. And this piece that he composed was a pivotal piece in his life because it was this big concert that they hosted in Tokyo in 1934 for his father's 65th birthday. And this kind of was, I guess his fate was whether he can return back to Paris to study or not was at this, success of this performance. And it turned out it was smashing success. His father was very pleased, so he was able to go back again to study. So, and then it turned out that, when he came back to Japan after his studies, he became a very important pedagogue. He taught at one of the most prominent music schools in Japan. And until then, the Germanic tradition of learning music was the main thing in Japan, that was the norm. But then he brought solfège, which is the French way of singing, and it's a different type of, I guess, also theory too. He did the French way. And so it kind of changed the education at these prominent schools. So he's actually a very important person who's not very known, I guess. His granddaughter recorded it, and also that prompted, I think, that the republication of this particular piece. And I'm just going to say something really short. I played this at a house concert with a friend of mine in Japan several weeks ago. And it was very interesting because I had listened to this recording on YouTube that was done by his granddaughter, who is half Japanese, but she's lived in this country all her life. And she's, grew up Western music, same as me. I grew up with classical music. I'm not really that familiar with the traditional Japanese music. However, my friend, whom I played with, she comes from literally a temple that has been basically in her family for 750 years. And she is actually the heiress to it, so she still has it. And, she has been brought up in a very traditional Japanese culture, like in every way, music, tea ceremony, everything. And so when she came in for the first rehearsal, it was completely different than what I had heard in the YouTube. And I said, what? 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 And then she goes, well, I listened to the YouTube, but this music, it's so kabuki. That's what she said. She said, like Japanese opera. She thought that this was so Japanese in the way that he took the timing and all that. And I heard the Japanese-ness of it, but I didn't didn't really think of it that way. So it was quite interesting. And then now I get to play with Brad, who's an all-American boy. But so it's so interesting that, just this one piece of music can be interpreted in such different ways. But anyways, I hope you enjoy. piece we're playing for you is a sonata by Debussy. And I thought it was kind of fun to pair him with Ikenochi because Ikenochi was a Japanese man who went to Paris to incorporate that Western music, the French music. And I'm sure he aspired to be like Debussy. And Debussy, on the other hand, who is much sooner than Ikenochi, but he was exposed to Asian music at the end of the 20th century, with the, no, not 20th century, I'm sorry, 19th century, because it was 1889, that was the World Fair, that he heard Javanese music, not Japanese, but Javanese music, and was influenced greatly by it. So I thought it was kind of funny, that the Frenchman who incorporated Asian influences and used all these exotic scales, like the pentatonic scale and all that. And then a Japanese man who, has that Japanese, there is pentatonic scale in Japanese traditional music, and then incorporating that French influence. So this is one of the 6 sonatas that was supposed to be composed. He only ended up composing 3 because he died. Debussy, that is. And this was written in 1915, so I think about 3 years before his death. please stick around and have some brownies and cookies. Thank you so much.